I think it's probably just not a good idea to make fun of people based on their gender or based on the way that they look.
You do that all the time.
Wait, what? Wait, when was the last time I made? Oh, well, aside from the "you're white" thing that I'm doing now, which to be fair,
you've been doing it this whole stream.
No, you know what? You're right. That is true. That is true. Okay, I am doing it there, but.
No, it's funny because QAnon is running with that now, amongst other things. So, you know.
Oh, well, damn.
Yeah. How's things in LA, Destiny?
They're chugging along.
Are you guys still locked down?
I think so, yeah.
You think so? Are you just not adhering to it, or?
Well, I mean, I sit at home inside and play video games and do politics all day anyway, so it doesn't make a difference to me. When I go to the grocery store, everybody's still wearing masks. I'm pretty sure in LA they extended the order for 2 or 3 months. I think they a week ago announced that, so I'm pretty sure everything's still locked down here until I think August 1st is what they said. I think.
Okay. So you're gonna have to give me maybe a quick recap of the Rem thing, because I found out about this yesterday. Someone's like, by the way, Destiny's debating Vaush and Rem simultaneously. You have to check this out.
Oh, I think Vaush was trying to format what Rem was saying into more coherent thoughts. I don't think me and Vaush disagree, I think, on the issue at all. But basically, I play this game a lot. So I usually talk to somebody, we have an okay conversation, it ends, and then immediately after they run to Twitter, and then they either misquote me or they use the least charitable interpretation possible of what I'm saying to rally support to attack the evil Destiny on Twitter.
The Destiny support group, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So basically, me and Rem had a conversation about... several days ago, somebody made a tweet and they said, listen, veganism is cool and all, but there are some natives that can't be vegan because this is eating meat is part of a long tradition of their culture or whatever, which is a stupid argument, okay? Just because you have a tradition of doing something, if you believe an act is immoral, doesn't mean you can use a tradition to excuse that. There are plenty of morally abhorrent traditions that lots of cultures have or have had and needed to discard. It should be relatively uncontroversial.
But would you then impose it upon them if they were autonomous? Would be the question. Would you say?
Well, that's
not that we've outlawed eating meat. Far from it, right? But would you then say that, you don't have a right to do that?
Yeah, depending on what it is, of course. We were talking about ritualistic human sacrifice. Yeah, we would outlaw that, right? Now, obviously, meeting is illegal, but this is just a question of morality, right? Basically, you can't use a culture, at least not in today's age, as an excuse to do things that we would consider morally abhorrent and say, well, they should be allowed to continue to do it because it's their culture. We wouldn't use that argument for anything. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And
go ahead. Well, I just want to say this comes to that larger issue, though, of whether or not they're in the culture itself or whether they are sovereign. Right? You wouldn't point the finger to a country doing something that you find abhorrent and then say, then we have the right to impose that upon that country, right? Even though I disagree with it, but we can't invade them and change their minds, right?
Well, it depends on the action, I guess. If the action is their society is more patriarchal than we'd like, then probably not. But if the action is they're using chemical weapons and gassing, neighboring people, probably we'd intervene. I guess it just kind of depends on what the action is, right?
Okay. Anyway, sorry, I keep interrupting. Finish the...
Or at least if they're genociding people in an area that has geopolitical interest to the United States and its allies, I guess.
I was going to say that, but I thought it'd be spicy.
No, I don't think that's a very controversial take. There's a whole lot of genocide that goes on south of the equator that nobody in the Western world gives a fuck about.
Well, I was going to say the U.S. seems to ignore things that aren't... anyways,
sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so if you ask me a question about moral justification and then we back it into political justification, obviously these are all different, very different realms, right? But yeah, just from a moral level, I mean, our responsibility probably varies somewhat based on the actions. But anyway, so Rem tried to kind of snipe this tweet, but then eventually he agreed with me in his Twitter. But we basically got into a conversation related to the sovereignty of indigenous peoples. Now, the way that I see it, at least insofar as I'm aware of it in the United States, and it seems like in Canada, reservations just don't really make sense. It feels to me like it would be more reasonable for all parties involved, even if there's a little bit of pain in the beginning, to just roll these people into the states that they're residing within, because ultimately they don't really have sovereignty anyway. Their sovereignty exists at the pleasure of whatever nation is hosting them, and these people's rights are going to be trampled over if the nation that's hosting them decides to anyway. So it's okay, it probably makes more sense to bring them in under your federal body, get them representation in some form of parliament or Congress, and then like move forward that way so that you can have like a more reasonable discussion over like how these things work. And then like leave these things up to like votes in Congress and then give these people some form of like bargaining or representation. Seems to be like a more reasonable path forward.
So you'd want to take their nationhood away, basically, like remove their sovereignty and reincorporate them into Canada.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And the purpose behind that being, you think that would be better for both them and Canadians, or Americans and the First Nations people.
Well, so whether it would be better for them gets hazy. So I cautiously say this because it's hard to tell like what's true or not. But what I've heard is that the majority of the, I can't pronounce it. I want to say Netanyahu, the Israeli, but it's like the wet. Do you know how to pronounce the name of their tribe?
It's Wet'suwet'en.
Wet'suwet'en.
Yeah.
Wet'suwet'en? Okay.
Yeah.
It seemed like the majority
it's spelled Wet'suwet'en, but yeah, that's how they pronounce it. So I try to.
Wet'suwet'en. Okay. Yeah. It seems like the majority of them are in favor of like this particular pipeline being built. I don't know if they'd be in favor of being rolled into like Canada as a sovereign nation. I imagine probably not. So it's hard to balance out like, who's benefiting more, because like if you take away some parts of a person's culture, like how many dollars is that worth? It's really hard to make that statement. But then on the flip side, it seems hard to me that you would materially disadvantage so many other people in a country for a very, 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 very slim minority who's only using like, this is my culture as a protection for lands that could otherwise be utilized in a healthy manner by that country. That seems to be like a weird position to take to me, or an untenable position.
I don't know how much he told you about this issue, and this is one of the reasons it's so complicated in Canada. But that there is a band of chiefs within Canada that get to represent their own sovereign nations within the country. And if he didn't say this, they did unilaterally vote for in approval of the pipeline. That pipeline was being built up until the point where the Wet'suwet'en people are not a part of that council of chiefs. And they still have their own sovereign autonomy to their own land. So because they're not part of that Council of Chiefs, they didn't personally approve it. That's where the conflict kind of came from.
Sure, and I've heard a lot of drama around this, such that like, because I'm not intimately familiar with the issues, I don't know like where the truth begins or ends and the lies begin or whatever. So like I've heard, for instance, that these councils that voted in favor of it are band councils, and that these people that are quote unquote democratically elected are elected in a way that the Canadian government enforced on these people or imposed on these people, and that they're not truly representative of the of these different tribal people.
Sorry, are you talking about the Wet'suwet'en people, or are you talking about the Council of Chiefs?
I think it's the band councils that the Wet'suwet'en have.
They have what are called hereditary chiefs, and whether or not like you or me personally agree with that, I'm guessing we probably both fall on the same like side of the aisle. I don't really agree with inherited power as opposed to democratic power. Right?
They have hereditary chiefs, but they also have a band council as well that was voted in.
Right, but the controversy comes from the fact that like the hereditary chiefs in essence inherit their power, but at the same time I would still be of the mind that I don't think I can impose my will upon a sovereign nation's decision on whether or not they inherit their chiefs or not. So that's where
of course I understand that. I'm just saying in terms of like representing the will of those people, it just seems hazy, because I've heard that, for instance, there were I think there were originally 12 hereditary chiefs. Three of them were actually okay with the pipeline, and then 8 of them kicked the other 3 off. They were like, nope, if you don't agree with this, peace out. And then one of them has abstained from voting out of like protest. And then I've also heard that these hereditary chiefs that are normally like, so I think normally they're very open with their decision making, like, oh, we're going to do this or that, but they don't like rule with an iron fist. They usually have like open meetings and they talk to their people and everything to figure out what's good. That supposedly a lot of the meetings about the pipeline stuff have been very closed door and not really open to what other people seem to want to say. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a really hazy issue in terms of figuring out like what does that group of people actually want?
Yeah, totally. And that's one of the reasons that's someone like myself who obviously doesn't have like firsthand knowledge of being in those like arenas. Like that's why it's really precarious for people to, I don't know, pass judgment on whether or not we think the drama is right or wrong when it's still unceded land. Like at the end of the day, because it's unceded, technically it's still theirs to make that decision, whether or not we agree with it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But then, I just the overall moral argument is just that like I couldn't imagine being part of a 40 million member society that is like having like their material conditions worsened because a minority group of people is saying like, no, you can't build here, like fuck off. And it's like, oh, like
okay, all right. I understand that. When it comes to like the First Nations in Canada issue, like, do you know about the residential school system? Maybe I could start there.
Yeah, I've heard this drama. Or I say drama. That sounds really dismissive, but I've heard that they have had, because Rem brought this up, that they've had a lot of issues with the way that the schooling systems worked or whatever, that led to a lot of resentment between them and like the Canadian government.
Well, yeah, I mean, I believe it started all the way back from like 1887 or something. But anyways, it was a system that was imposed in Canada where they wanted to basically remove and erase their culture, all the First Nations culture. So this was the biggest attempt on a national scale at re-educating. I mean, maybe the Uyghurs of China would be the closest example to this kind of thing being done systematically. But basically, take all the children from their mother's arms, put them into these schools, and do this for hundreds and hundreds of years, where they de-learn their languages, de-learn their history, their culture, and they get white names. They're in essence, it was a cultural genocide, right? And it was also rife with systemic rape, abuse, all these kind of horror stories. And this went on till about 1996, I think, was when it finally stopped. So, from their perspective, if you are people, I guess, for hundreds and hundreds of years, you've got this federal government who has been basically systematically trying to erase both your culture. The way of preserving it, the sovereignty kind of takes on a different take in that sense, right? They're trying to do it in essence to protect their own history that has been taken to them aggressively by the federal government, and not just the kind of the feels or the reals stories like that. Actively now in Canada, this is not like, something that happens hundreds of years ago. There's coerced sterilization of First Nations women because we have a public healthcare system in Canada. Women who are part of First Nations communities are often coerced by their doctors to be sterilized because they don't have to keep dealing with, fetal alcohol syndrome, pregnancy, stuff like that. So the only reason I pointed out is you can see why there'd be a very big distrust from them, from technically the colonizers, right, the oppressors of their people, and the idea of just saying, hey, let's reintroduce you into Canadian society. The two of us can just we'll treat you equally like we treat everyone else. Well, at the same time, we've very demonstrably been treating you like shit, historically for years.
Yeah, I mean, historically, we have problems with all sorts of people that aren't white in America as well, right? Yeah, of course. But that doesn't really change anything I've said, I don't think. I mean, like, I can understand like a level of mistrust, or I can understand, that like past horrible actions have happened, but like that can't set the tone for every future conversation. I mean, it just can't.
No, but I think it should be put into, I don't know, consideration at the very least would be what I would say. I mean,
yeah, of course. I mean, like, I'm not a fan of like rolling in the military and like killing everybody and being like, well, finished what we started. Get out of here, losers. I mean, obviously, you would go for some form of compensation, in the best way possible. I don't know if you could materially compensate somebody for depriving them of something, they consider immaterial, like the importance of land or whatever. Obviously, it would be difficult to do it. But yeah, I mean, like, obviously, they should be done in hopefully a way that can be negotiated. Like, I've heard that there are already ongoing negotiations, with these people where they're trying to get certain concessions made. I heard that was part of the reason why the majority of the Indigenous peoples that were affected agreed to this, is because there were so many concessions made by the Canadian government in terms of like different federal funding for projects and whatnot. But yeah. Also, just a quick reminder for 95% of your chat, 95% of you are white. Stay mad. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Okay, you know what? That brings up something very, very interesting that I wanted to ask you about. When it comes to Rem, okay? Okay, when it comes to, am I allowed to say, is this your friend's tweets or whatever? Can I?
My friend's tweets, yeah.
Okay, sure, yeah. Okay, so your friend's tweets, I know they're bait. That's why I don't engage with them, all right? I know. And
I'll defend, listen. I will defend every single tweet my friend has made. Throw any of them at me and I'll do it. I don't run away from shit I say online. Do it. I'll defend any tweet. Which one?
Fair enough. But okay, so here's the one where like I came so close. I came so close to doing something. I was like, I just want to talk to you, all right? Yeah. If a white person cries enough over Indigenous people's issues, do you think they can say they were part of the Trail of Tears? And okay, so two questions. One, I think deep down, what's pissing you off so much about this is that Rem is acting like the Lorax for First Nations people, right? Like,
my problem is that he's acting like that, and he's like hardly informed on these issues at all. Like, it's hard, I guess, without like the proper context. But like, Rem has spent the last like 6 months getting mad. Like, people make fun of me for picking fights on Twitter. He's like trying to pick a fight with every single possible person he can on Twitter. And when I bring him on to talk about these Indigenous people's things, and he's talking like, oh, I've read 10 books cover to cover, and he can't tell me like basic information about like the Iroquois, whatever. Like, he like doesn't know anything about these things. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you've read 10 books cover to cover that you have on your bookshelf behind you about this. Like, you know so much, but you don't know anything about what you're talking about. Like, why do you feel so fucking strongly about these issues? It's really weird. It's really strange. It seems like a very like social credit-esque position. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, I don't understand why he's saying that. Like, he's the only person who's spoken about this, because like, holy smokes, 2 months ago, like every single person on the left was streaming about this. We did like charity streams. I did a charity stream. We were covering this back to back. Like, this was like the biggest topic. Like, he's definitely not the first person to speak about this. Like
I remember like we were having arguments and he was like, oh yeah, like the vast majority of indigenous peoples in Canada live like really, really far north, and they always have. And I'm like, that seems kind of strange. Like, humans usually prefer warmer weather unless these people are like crazy out there. And like, he sent me a map and he was like, well, look at this map. And like, the majority of tribes lived like right on the Canadian US border. And I'm like, well, what about this? He's like, oh, well, I was ignoring all of like British Columbia. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? I don't know, dude. That really irritated me. It sucks because like when I've told you this in the past, and I don't know if people believe it or not, like I feel very strongly about every issue that I argue. And when I'm arguing against somebody and it feels like they're faking their outrage or they're faking like how strong they feel, it's really irritating me. It feels very performative. And like, even on Twitch, like when I'm on like the Raw shows and stuff and I'm arguing with people like Casey Tron or Bob Seven, I don't like people that are playing characters. It's very irritating to me because it feels like everything I say is going into like a meme vacuum where it like doesn't matter because the other person doesn't mean or care about anything anyway. And they'll just move on to the next thing in a week. It's like, what the fuck? Like, and that's like the big impression that I get from Rem, where he's very quick to like jump in like on any issue and it's like take like fight with every single fucking person about it with like the most hottest takes in the world, and then invariably will back off of them like a day or two later and he's like, okay, well, I didn't mean that or that. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could ever have any kind of a conversation with him about philosophy. I'd be so woefully out of my depth. But I also think he kind of appeals to authority, and the authority is him. That's kind of the
maybe. I don't know. I'm being really harsh on Rem right now. Like I think he means well. Like, I don't think that Rem is like this horrible evil person or anything like that. It just sometimes it feels like a little bit strange, like the issues he decides to like take like such a huge interest in it. Yeah, I don't know. And then like he goes so hard, and then he doesn't seem like he knows as much as he like says he does about indigenous peoples. I don't know, just it bothers me. Whatever.
I mean, I think his heart's in the right place on this issue, though. Like, he seems to be. He's interviewing someone today, I think, who's like knows a lot about this topic. But anyways, yeah, the reason I want to ask you about this one tweet, because you said you'd defend any tweet, right? Like, would you feel totally fine making this joke or this tweet if it was the same thing? If he was, say, like, I don't know if he's Jewish, maybe he is, so this might be totally off base. But would you make like a Holocaust joke if he was saying like, Destiny, you don't understand the plight of like the Jewish people during World War II, and then would you be like, you know, make a tweet to that effect?
I mean, I would have to think of a way to form like a like another joke, but I mean, for sure. If there was a guy that I knew, this sounds bad. My humor is like kind of dark sometimes. I understand that, or edgy or offensive. I understand, but like if there was like a guy that I felt like didn't really give a fuck about like Jewish people, but for some reason he decided to like go really hard on Jewish issues, and I asked him a few questions and he didn't know anything about like Judaism at all, like I might make a tweet or something and it's like, yo bro, like I know that you said you were from Atlanta, like on Saturday there's like a Holocaust memorial, or am I going to see you and your family there? Like, I might tweet something like that because I would probably do something similar. I mean, like that's just, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely like on the edge of like what would edgy be, for sure. But yeah, to be fair, he started it, okay? We had a cordial conversation. He left my stream. I've decided that my new tactic going forward, okay, 2020, is when people start talking shit, I'm just going gloves off and I'll just say random shit. That's my new meme, because people do it to me anyway, so fuck it.
Oh, fuck.
Like, for instance, there was the head moderator on Hassan's subreddit, and he mods a few other lefty subreddits, posted a bunch of Reddit threads saying that I doxed and dead named, or I led like a harassment campaign to dox and dead name that Jacob for Congress guy's comms director. Like, no, what? Like, but like those things take, like, people hear shit like that and they're just like, oh yeah, that sounds like something Destiny do. Like, no, what the fuck? Even if I wanted to, why the fuck would I risk my reputation on somebody so random and do that? It's so stupid. Like, yeah, I don't know. People trigger the fuck out of me about stuff like that. But
yeah, I know, leftists especially, dude. Like, more than
it's only lefties because like that's who I'm talking to right now. But like once the general election rolls around, and then all of the lefties sink back into irrelevance because they're cutting ties with every single possible representation they had. I've even seen you on Twitter that you're frustrated with. Dude, lefties on Twitter hate Bernie now. They hate AOC. They hate the Justice Dems. Like, as they continue to marginalize themselves over and over and over again, especially like kamikazing on this shitty Tara Reid story, like you'll find that like I'll be talking to them less because they'll just be less relevant. Nobody will be talking about them, and I go back to bashing conservatives, which is more fun anyway.
Yeah, no, I get that. No, like, hey, here's an olive branch. What went down with Joshua for Congress was actually like a big learning experience for me. Because before that, I'd just brought on politicians, and I'd had like 6 or 7 different politicians, and they'd all just emailed me. They're like, hey, can you platform us? I was like, yeah, sure. Didn't push back on them at all. Didn't ask them any hard questions. It was just basically, I gave them like a 30 to 40 minute block to talk about whatever they wanted, including Joshua for Congress. He was one of the people I talked to. And then it wasn't long before I saw that whole thing go down that I realized, yeah, I'm tired of the memeing side of the left, right? If all you're saying is like, ACAB, guillotine, 420, abolish the CIA, and then if you come onto a stream and you can't explain what that means or what any of that actually stands for, then yeah, I've got a huge problem with that. Like,
yeah, or like, I disagree like a motherfucker with so many Bernie's policies. But like, if Bernie gets up and he says a million times like, oh, the 1%, blah 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 blah, if you bring Bernie on to have a conversation, he can have a conversation about all of his policy positions. He can tell you exactly what he wants to do, and I can respect that. Like, at least you know what you want to do, you know the direction you want to go, you know what policies you want to implement. The whole like incessant memeing without understanding anything about what you're talking about is just a huge turnoff to me. I've seen conservatives do it for so long, and then to see lefties do it too just makes me cringe so hard, especially seeing all these big YouTubers coming out with all of these like 75 IQ takes. Like, blows my fucking mind. Holy shit.
The only thing I could ask with the Rem thing or with this is, would you ever bring someone who was First Nations or Indigenous onto your show to talk about it instead of like, someone like, like you said, Rem, or someone who isn't?
That's like a really hard one. So like, my gut reaction is like, yeah, of course, I'd love to. The interesting problem that I'd run into is that my understanding right now is that the majority of them are in favor of the pipeline. So if I brought one of them on and we talked and they were like in favor of the white line, I'd have, 5 million white people screaming at me that I didn't bring the right one on. So like, I could also bring one on that is opposed to it. But then like, I have some Indigenous peoples in my audience that, like send me emails or update me on things like, hey, this is why this, blah, 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 who might get upset that like, why did you bring on like a minority opinion? Like, this isn't even a real representation of what most of us think. Like, you're appealing to the fringe. It's really, I mean, like, my gut is, yeah, I'd love to talk to any type of person that would want to chat. That would be really cool. But yeah, I guess I'd have to probably find like one of each to bring on or something.
What, like, I could help you? What if I reached out to some people?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to, of course, I talk to anybody on my stream. Yeah, I talk to people that are way fucking worse than anything. Yeah, of course, I would definitely talk to an Indigenous person. It sounds like that'd be an interesting conversation. Yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, yeah, that's about it for me. Yeah, thanks for listening, Destiny.
Is there anything else? Hold on, I don't get to talk to you that much, so I like to.
You can talk to me anytime. I'm like, I stream
every day. Audience
now.
Hate me as much as possible. Have you been following? This is the big one I've been going on recently. Have you been following the Tara Reid stuff?
I'm not. Okay, first off, I was like, I do the news first thing, so that's in my docket. I have the New York Times articles. So yes, I as a leftist was going to report on it. I was going to talk about how the lawyer from the Me Too movement has dropped her, but I don't know enough about that yet. I have not read the article, so I'm not going to talk about something I haven't even read. But I'm sure you sound gleeful, right? This sounds. I can hear
well,
your
I'm
voice.
sorry. Hold on. To be clear, in terms of like sounding gleeful, like I mean, like the whole story has gotten like comical. It was comical from the very beginning, since the inner shit tried to break the story. But like it's more just like a big yikes situation, and now it's starting to look sad because like other people are getting impacted as well in like a negative way. The biggest thing that bothers me about the Tara Reid shit, I understand that like progressives don't give a fuck. Or I'm sorry. Hold on. Holy shit. That like the white Twitter lefty crowd doesn't give a fuck about the Me Too movement or women or rape or any of that, and they just want to like do anything they possibly can to unseat Biden. The thing that bothers me the most are all the comparisons made between Tara Reid and Christine Ford, which is really, really, really sad in my opinion. Because oh my God, Christine Ford as a person and as an accuser was leagues above the shitstorm, horrendous fucking story that Tara Reid has tried to weave desperately over the past 2 to 3 months. And it's embarrassing to see people try to confuse the two or say that both of them are similar or comparable in any way. It like super fucking like irritates the fuck out of me. Holy shit.
Hey, sorry, chat, like, mods, you can time people out or stuff. You don't have to worry about that. But like, yeah, sorry. So sorry. Why is the comparison false though? Because
when Ford wanted to make her story, right? Ford has remained, to my understanding, relatively consistent the whole time. Sure. She submitted to a polygraph before she went public with anything. I think she approached some member of the Democratic establishment before eventually making her way to. Oh God, fuck! What was her name? Oh, it's like right on the tip of my tongue. Who did she finally go through to figure out like the most positive?
Haven't polygraphs kind of been debunked as pseudoscience though?
No, polygraphs are okay. It's like part of Feinstein. Yeah, a polygraph isn't like a silver bullet. Everybody that says polygraphs are fake don't know what they're talking about. They just read Reddit. Polygraphs are used as like part of like an overwhelming body of evidence that you can use to establish something.
Right, but in an actual trial, they can't be submitted as like direct evidence, right? It has to be
not direct. No, of course not. They're circumstantial. DNA is circumstantial evidence. People don't realize that. DNA is circumstantial evidence. Yeah, a polygraph is just like part of a thing that you can do, right? You would never convict somebody alone on a polygraph, but like it can be like a useful tool to build a case. Everyone in your chat that's saying they don't work, they're fucking wrong. I'm glad you guys are Reddit detectives. Go read on it sometime and find out why do we still use polygraphs in some cases in the legal system, and why do we use polygraphs when we test people for security clearance? Anybody in your chat, I know this is nobody that's ever worked a job that's required them to fill out is it an FS86 or whatever, or I think it's an FS86. Like you have to submit to a polygraph to do these like security clearance forms.
I love how you're debating my chat right now.
It's irritating. It's like so many people just like talk out their ass and scream at me. A lot of people in your chat are saying a lot of dumb shit at me, and they're all fucking wrong or whatever. It's really funny. But anyway, regardless, there's like the way that she approached it, her story was relatively consistent. When they dug up old documents like therapist notes or whatever about it, they like she talked, I think, pretty specifically about things that had happened in the past, and like everything in her story has been pretty consistent. The way that she tried to break it, everything was pretty consistent, and she was like a person of like high standing reputation before doing it. She had a lot to lose going public with that story. Tara Reid's story was consistent for about 20 years. It changed in March, completely and totally changed. It's been inconsistent with every single thing ever reported about Biden ever. She's told multiple stories to multiple reporters. She's changed incredibly important details. Did she file a sexual assault complaint? Well, yes. Well, no, once Biden said he released records, okay, maybe no. She's told the same reporter multiple stories. Vox wrote a really good article about the difficulties in reporting this, and tons of different mainstream media outlets have been trying to do like their homework on this. The New York Times, the Washington Post, and nobody's been able to get a consistent story out of her. It's changed over and over again. The number of people she's told has changed. Her brother randomly came out and was like, oh yeah, well I heard about this too, and blah, blah, blah. Her friend's story that was used to be consistent with her own also changed to match Tara Reid's news story. It's just been a shit show of everything related to her. It's been horrible. And it's a mockery of everything. It's funny because I see very left people using the same attacks conservative use. It's like, well, you said you were supposed to believe all women, right? So don't you believe all women now? And it's like, no, hashtag believe all women was just that, like, if a woman makes a rape accusation, it should be treated seriously and you should do an investigation or whatever. They have with Tara Reid. No one has been able to fucking turn up anything ever, period. Like, people are asking in chat, how has it changed specifically? What points has she contradicted herself on? She has specifically said in the past, both to reporters and to her friend that talked to reporters, that it was not a sexual harassment thing, that it was absolutely not sexual harassment, not let alone sexual assault. She specifically said that and maintained that for over like 15 or 20 years. That changed in late March completely, 100%. Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, the first thing I was going to say is just because someone's story changes if they happen to be a survivor, right? I don't think that's conclusive proof of anything.
It's not conclusive proof. It's taken as a body of evidence, right?
Right.
You take all of it in stride with everything else.
Right,
it does
exactly.
hurt, though, that when she's had a pretty consistent story about what happened for like decades, that all of a sudden in March, it seemed to change, and she started coming out with a lot of very questionable statements that contradicted what she said in the past. Talking to even some of the same reporters, there's a lot of like, that's kind of weird, you know, and then taken in account with everything else, it seems like there's not really a pattern of behavior for Biden to do this. Like, he raped one woman in 93 and never again. Like, there's just like a lot of stuff that like it doesn't seem to line up well at the end of the day.
Yeah, but again, like neither of those means anything ultimately, right? Like you're trying to mount a body of evidence when neither of us is ever going to make a conclusive decision in one direction or the other. We're always
but that's how all rape accusations
yes,
work, right?
Absolutely. So that's why but that's why I'm not one of the people who's like Joe Biden is a rapist, right? I've always been he's been accused of sexual assault. So we have to pick between the lesser of two.
Accused of rape, fingering someone in a hallway that I want to.
Yeah, sure, fine.
He's
fine. He's been accused of rape, but like, yeah, we're choosing the lesser of two accused rapists, right? That's what the decision comes down to. And I do want to read this article. I'm curious about this. I want to know why the Me Too lawyer dropped him.
Because she lied. She doesn't have an undergrad. She lied about her credentials. And now because
That's
she was an
why?
expert witness, because she was an expert witness on a lot of cases,
Yeah.
there are a lot of verdicts that are going to be challenged by lawyers that had her on the prosecution saying that she was an expert witness because she lied about having an undergrad. They tried to contact the college that said that where she said she'd gotten her undergrad from, and the college said, we're absolutely positive that she didn't. Tara Reid claimed, well, actually, I changed my name, so they don't have, that's why they don't have the record. And they're like, well, we have the record of her name change. She earned 35 credits. That's not enough for a degree. The maximum you can transfer from another university is like 48, and you need 130 to graduate. There's no way. They said that she was confident that she didn't have a degree from that university. So she lied about her undergrad. She got a JD after lying about it, and then she testified as an expert witness. She perjured herself in a court, lying about it as well. So all of those verdicts could be threatened too. But
yeah, that's interesting. That kind of goes to the same thing, though. Didn't someone else say that she also tried to like scam something from a charity or there was something like that? Like when I heard that, I was like, I don't know if even if you've done like, I don't know, 5 or 6 shady things in your past, if that necessarily negates a rape accusation, right?
So it doesn't, and unfortunately, like you have to be so careful with this because this is like a tool that abusers can use, right? Like if I rape a crackhead, no one's gonna fucking believe her. She's a crackhead, no, right? Like that could definitely be a thing that you have to consider, right? Well, if this woman is, like unreliable in this area, like is she not allowed to make a rape accusation more? Can she be unassaulted? Because like now we're never going to believe her. So that is definitely something to consider. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you kind of have to weigh, all the stories and point towards like a more probable path because you are talking about a pretty big rape accusation against like the presumptive Democratic nominee, and you have to come to some kind of decision at the end of the day about this, right? So establishing patterns of behavior is unfortunately like this becomes like a character trial to some extent. Like you're building like credibility or destroying credibility from certain sides. That's another reason why, like, if you look at Christine Ford, this is a pretty credible person. She was a tenured professor. She had like a lot going for her and a lot to lose. Tara Reid seems to have a pattern of engaging in like pretty dumb behavior in terms of like lying about shit in the past. And Biden seems to have engaged in a pattern of being creepy towards women, but not sexually assaulting and not raping women. Like he has a consistent trail of like, what was it, like 13 women that came out?
Yeah, it's pretty damn
No,
creepy,
what I just said
like,
is not contested. No. What I just said is not. He has never been accused of sexual assault. Like the consistent story.
Yeah, no, the other several women of the total of 8. I think it's everything from like touching to smelling to that kind of, like it looks gross as fuck. Don't get me wrong.
It's creepy for sure. Unfortunately, as disgusting as it is, kind of normal for the time, especially when you go back and see the way that a lot of celebrities treat women. It's disgusting for sure, but it wasn't rape, right? So you're looking for like patterns of behavior. Yeah.
But also, like, I don't agree with the defense that Tara Reid is like, I guess, like poorer than Christine Blasey Ford or less successful. So therefore she had less to like lose, and therefore it's not
about successful. It's about like reputable. And like, I mean, again, like I understand you have to be so careful, but like, if two people come up to you and they ask for something, right? Like you're liable to judge their credibility based on the type of person they are in society, right? Is this a person that, is like relatively upstanding and responsible, blah, 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 versus somebody that is not, right? You're more likely to probably take the opinion of the other person more seriously or be more credible. Now, that can lead to abuse, of course, which you should be careful of. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like it's a reality of the world and it isn't necessarily the worst thing to go off of sometimes,
Yeah. I don't know. I just think there's it's you keep saying like we have to be very careful. I totally agree with you there. And I mean, what is to be gained? Like, do you have a vested interest in debunking this because it really pisses you off to see the kind of like misinformation that's spread online? Is that
So the two things is that like the two problems is that one, people use it to discourage people from voting for Biden.
But that's the thing that doesn't bear fruit, right? Like people have already said it, especially when they're polled about this.
Does.
No. The people who have been polled, like we can pull up the polls from CNN. Apparently, they still are going to vote for Biden, even if they do believe that he raped Tara Reid.
Oh yeah, sure. That's where the polling stands at right now. But people are trying to convince people that you shouldn't vote for anybody, right? They poll.
No, of course. But I'm just saying this isn't having a demonstrable effect upon the election itself. So
yeah, of course. Hopefully not. Yeah, that would be the goal. But like, I mean, a lot of things don't have a direct impact on the election that are still good to talk about, right? I think.
Well, yeah, of course. No, yeah, totally. And I mean, like, fuck, Trump is, what is it, like close to 40 women have accused him of this or worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and most sexual assaulters seems to be the case. One of the things that disappointed me the most about how Grimm decided to break the story was that he did a disservice to a lot of the journalists that go about breaking stories like this. Like when people came out against Weinstein or Kevin Spacey or Bill Cosby, they had a mountain of work that they did to nail these guys to the wall. They had like sometimes over a dozen women making similar accusations. They had patterns of behavior established. They had corroborated stories from multiple different sources that lined up in all the same timelines. And when they brought these guys down, they got them. Like, it was fucking over. Rem talked to Reed because Reed was fucking desperate as fuck for anybody in the media to give her attention. She found somebody that would. She fed him. She spun him a story that was completely and totally different from a story she'd been telling for the past 15 years. And he ran with it immediately to the press. And now we have everybody like, oh, well, why don't you believe all women? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, hold on, dude. This is not how journalists normally break these stories. And it sucks because now the next time a big, I like how this dumb fucking you're trying to say Bill Cosby apologist. I'm not apologizing for anything. You inbred fucking 75 IQ knuckle dragging fucking
okay,
so mad. And that guy in chat, I know that he's fucking white, 100%, and it makes him mad every day to be white. I love it. But anyway, like, the next time like a big rape accusation comes out, now I wonder how many people are gonna be like, oh wow, so you've got this guy that's being accused of being raped by 20 different women. Well, why didn't you believe Tara Reid and Biden? It's like, okay, dude, come on, these aren't the same thing at all. Like, it's so sad that Tara Reid is being treated the same way. Like that the credibility of the story is treated the same way as every other rape accusation. That's insane.
No, sorry. I'm distracted by chat. I'm trying not to look at chat, Destiny, and just
I
have a
read
conversation
chat all the time. Your chat fucking hates me, and I love it. You know why I love it? For two reasons. Okay, one is because I love to be the bad guy, and two, because I know they're all white. I love it. I love that part.
Well, the second one's not true though.
No, every single one of them are.
What? Oh, okay.
All of them, 100%. I pulled up the Twitch demographics right now. They're all white. 100% of them are.
I'm like, they're gonna sound off now. I was like, yeah, there's like, they're a pretty multicultural crew.
You know how I can tell they're white?
Because
Biden today confirmed it. He said that if you're not voting for him, you ain't black. So, bam, all got turned white in that chat. 100%.
You're a meme lord right now. Memes to me. That's it. That's the one, right? Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, hit me up. What's up?
When you're doing all this whole internet thing, this Twitch stuff, like, do you have an end goal? Like, is it just like, do you like the performative?
I abandoned that shit a long fucking time ago. I just make people mad now.
All those debates, the reason everyone, like, you know, all these people are like, I was inspired by Destiny, like, you know, he made me want to get into the scene, right?
Mistake.
Yeah, was that all, like, is it just the competition of it, like because you're like, you came from
like
competitive gaming, so you just loved ripping into right-wing reactionaries because you could?
In 2016, what I saw was there were a lot of political conversations that happen on the internet, and they just have no factual basis in like anything they say. Like, just a lot of stupid shit being said. It's like, oh, like, I think it'd be cool to contribute to these conversations and kind of like ground some of these conversations in a little bit more of a fact-based world, right? Like, if you're a conservative and you fucking hate brown people and you don't want immigrants in your country, okay, sure, that's fine. But don't say that they don't contribute economically. That's not true. That's demonstrably false. Nobody in economics agrees with you, right? So, like, if you don't want brown people here, just be honest about it. Don't lie and make up all this random bullshit about how they're all murderers and rapists and thieves or whatever. Like the people, you know what makes immigrants, more violent than anything else is when they have kids and their second and third generation immigrants start to commit more crime. But that's just because they're falling in norm with what like an average white American commits for crime, or like an average American in general commits for crime. Like, immigrants aren't all these like crime committing, like non-economic contributing people. That's bullshit, right? And basically, so it's just like that. Like, I just like, okay, well, if we want to have conversations, we can have certain opinions and positions and all that shit. That's fine. But like, let's make sure that we're in reality. But what I realized over the next like 4 or 5 years was, oh, cool. Every single conversation that I'm having has nothing to do with like putting together actual arguments. It's just disagreements on matters of fact or very, very, very basic understandings of the subject matter, which like kills me on the inside. If I have to read another brain dead take from existential philosophy or comics or these guys talking about how like all landlords are thieves and evil and there's no value in renting property, just buy it. Like, oh my God, dude, you don't know anything about personal finance. You don't know anything about capital markets. You don't know basic shit about economics. You don't know anything about budgeting or finance in general. Like, if I have to read so many of these brain dead takes, like, there's not even like a real debate to have here. It's just people that just don't understand even the basics of what they're talking about.
That doesn't go back to my original question though. Like, were you doing that because like was it the competition aspect of it, like the performative aspect, or was it like, did you start seeing that like you were actually having an effect, like you were starting to change people's minds? Like, did that play into it at all?
No. I mean, I like arguing, and I like the idea of like what I'm doing. The converting people was like a cool byproduct of that. It was like, oh, cool. I'm glad that like some people like see like, hey, maybe there's like a better way to look at these things. Maybe there's a better way to think about that. That was like really cool to me. I like that. But it's not like my purpose, my stated goal isn't like to maximize my rhetoric to convert as many people as possible over to me. It's more just like, well, let's chase down these arguments and see where they go. Is more what I was always concerned with. Yeah.
But like, you don't have an overarching political agenda behind all of this.
Not really, no. I don't have like any strong political affiliation. Like I don't give a fuck about like capitalism or leftism or whatever. Like it's just more just like, whoa, well, what are like the most true arguments? Like what's the best way to do like a particular thing? Or like what policy has what empirical evidence behind it? Like that's just more kind of what I'm interested in. Like it's like policy debate.
Yeah, but like I mean you have a big platform. Like do you ever consider like I can use this to steer towards like, you know, I want to get everyone on board with like the Joe Mintum or something like that, or I want everyone not to vote for Joe Biden or something like that. Like I want to actually further
yeah, I mean, I encourage people to vote for Biden, of course, because Trump is fucking horrible. But I mean, like, I have to temper this because, like, to some extent, at the end of the day, I mean, like people in my position aren't really impacted one way or another, right? Like, if Biden gets through and starts deporting all the immigrants, or you know, banning trans people from the military, or you know, putting Supreme Court justices in that fuck your ability over to get abortions and shit, like at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me. I'm a white guy who's like relatively wealthy. Like, it's whatever for me. Like, I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm personally impacted by the policies. Now, personally, I think the country would be in a way fucking better spot if Trump was out of office because of all the reasons that I just mentioned. Yeah. So like, I definitely encourage people to think about things the way that I do, of course, right? If I think about it a certain way, then I would hope that I'm right about it, and I'd encourage other people to do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, but it's not like I remember Hassan was really big on that back in the day, right? Like he was actually trying to further a political agenda. But for you, it's more like it's the competition aspect of it. I'm genuinely just asking. Like, this is totally
no. Well, it's not like it sounds like so fucking debate lord, edgelord to say, but like for me, it's really just like making sure I have like rigorous arguments for everything. The thing that's scary about having a political agenda is that I don't want to be caught saying some stupid shit and I was only saying it because I agreed with my narrative at the time. Like that's really scary for me. I remember for Hassan, one of our big conversations was, I think he or the Young Turks had covered a shooting where there was a young black boy that got killed by an older white male in a gun shooting, and no information at all was released about this. Just that was like all we knew was the victim and the perpetrator. That's all we knew. And it was either the Young Turks or Hassan himself immediately jumped to make a video about, oh, well, here are hate crimes that white people commit against black people. It's like, well, hold on. I don't know if we know that yet. And he's like, well, dude, just like look at it. It probably is. And it's like, I feel like I've heard a conservative say this whenever a brown person steps into anything and either starts shooting or does anything, right? Like, it sounds like you're using the same things that we talk about, like, oh, must be a terrorist. Like, well, hold on, why aren't white people terrorists, right? And eventually it came out for that story that the black boy that got killed, it was like a stray shot. Like the white person wasn't trying to execute like a black baby. It was just like a stray shot and it ended up killing the kid. And yeah, I don't know. Like I get worried that when people get too ideologically driven, they start making like really dumb or even counterproductive arguments sometimes that really bother me.
Mm-hmm. So you want to dissect those or pull those apart?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that bothers me a lot.
So, hey, here would be the question then, because you are constantly triggered, I guess, by the left. That seems to be who you attack more than anyone else online.
Yeah, right now because they're like the maddest because of all the
sure. And you're kind of in the the Bernie or bust. Like you wanna. Like you're part of like I see like people seem to be obsessed with this online, especially with Twitch. Like just they have to break down every Bernie or buster until like everyone bends the knee or something like that effect, right? But ultimately, if you want more people to vote for Joe Biden and you want to convince them, like there has to be some kind of an olive branch or middle ground here, right? Like something. It's
not good enough.
How do the omni liberals like make an offer to the left?
The problem is that a lot of these people, the ideologically purist people, are the whitest and most untouched people on the internet. That's the problem. For a lot of these people, they actually don't give a fuck about. So politics in its essence is actually the acquisition of power that you can exert on society. That's what it really is. Politics is about gaining power so that you can enact certain things that you believe in. It's having power. That's what politics is about. But for a lot of these people, it's more just like a hobby/game. That's why you see like a lot of people online, they're like, oh, well, I don't care if Trump or whoever wins. Like at this point, if Bernie's not going to make it, I don't give a fuck. And it's like, damn, dude, you must be pretty wealthy and pretty straight and pretty white to say that. I guess you don't give a fuck about like Roe v. Wade. You don't give a fuck about trans people in the military. You don't give a fuck about children at the border. Like, it seems like the only two people in the mainstream, I say mainstream, the only two people in like leftist kind of media that understand this are, thank God, Sam Cedar and David Pakman are like the only two. Everybody else is just like, fuck it, dude. I'm wealthy. I'm white. I'm straight. I don't give a fuck about 4 more years of Trump. Fuck that shit. Like, haha, Bernie doesn't make it. Fuck them all. And when you talked about earlier extending an olive branch, even when the Biden camp has extended an olive branch, people are shitting on Bernie now for it. Like Biden put together, I think, was it like a little council where he like tried to bring on some of Bernie's policies and shit. And people are like, oh, Bernie, you're a fucking sellout. Like, oh, Bernie, you don't know shit. Or when AOC is like, hey, maybe Bernie and Biden can work together. Bubba's like, oh, bullshit. He's not going to listen to anything. Biden's not going to follow anything. Okay, well, fuck you then. I guess there is no olive branch. Like there's like just short of Biden literally fucking shooting himself and letting Bernie come over and like have the nomination. It seems like there's nothing that Biden could even do to appease those like extreme left people anyway.
I think that's a huge straw man though, because like that's not what they're all saying. Not every single one of them is like, I don't give a fuck about anything, anarchy, I want full accelerationism to the end of days, right? Like there's a lot of them.
Yeah, to be clear, you're 100%. This is just like the most extreme and unfortunately the loudest people on the left online. I think the lion's share of progressives in the United States, the ones that are more diverse, that are actually represented, because Bernie's coalition in real life is nowhere near as white, college educated, and wealthy as they are online. I think that the majority of these people are chill with like Bernie and Biden working together and are happy to see those efforts, come to fruition. I think that's a good thing. Most people agree with that. I need to clarify that more, that I'm only talking about the extreme fringe of toxic, cancerous fucking shit that emanates from white left Twitter. Yeah.
Did you have demographics on that, by the way? Like, did that all these people have to be white? Like, you keep seeing that.
It was either the New York Times or MSNBC had done a lot of polling and found that progressives on the left are overwhelmingly more, I always say those 3 things. It's more college educated, of higher socioeconomic status, and tend to be far more white than the larger communities that they seem to represent. Yeah. I maybe somebody can find that later. It sounds weaselly not to say it, but yeah.
Sure. I'll
it was a New York Times article. Yeah.
Okay. I would have one to send to you too, though. Like, have you read that article in The Intercept that talks about how the majority of the non-voting demographic, the one that people are constantly trying to attack, saying like, hey, these are the people who are not going to vote for Joe Biden, and therefore they're letting Trump win by default, right? A lot of the non-voting demographics happen to be people of color. And they happen to be people who are oftentimes marginalized, that they don't see a change coming one direction or the other from political, I don't know, the democracy, I guess I should say.
It's possible. I'd have to look into it. Unfortunately, at this point, when it comes to election-related stuff, and depending on who's posting it, I don't take anything at The Intercept at face value anymore. I usually try to do more reading about it because those guys have a massive political slant that hurts their ability to accurately report on political-related news a lot, I think.
Okay, sure. But if the data and the information that they pull up from that is not their own polling, so they just use it as reflective.
Yeah, I would be interested. Yeah. While it is possible that those people might feel that way, that doesn't necessarily mean that they would rather vote for Bernie rather than Biden, right? And also, when you look at the people that actually did vote, the vast majority of the minority communities cast a vote for Biden. So who's to say that the people that aren't voting or feel disenfranchised, if they did feel like they had a voice, wouldn't vote for Biden anyway? Right?
Yeah, no. Here, I'll send this to you. So all the research comes from Pew. So it's all Pew Research Center. I just sent it to you on Discord. So yeah, okay, fine. It's in The Intercept if you want to say that that's like...
No, but yeah, I mean, like, I would read the... I'm not going to say like, oh, it's The Intercept, it's fake. I mean, obviously, they're probably citing like research from either Gallup or Pew Research or something.
Yeah, it's all from Pew Research poll. Yeah. But yeah, it demonstrates pretty conclusively that the idea of the privileged white non-voter is actually a bit of a myth. Like it's mostly non-whites made up nearly half of non-voters.
Yeah, 100%. So when we talk about like the privileged non-voter, we're talking about the person online that's like, fuck it, I'm not voting for either side because fuck them, I don't care, blah, 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 blah. My guess is if you were to say like, well, who is the average non-voter? The average non-voter is probably like a working class person that like can't get off work to fucking vote, or like just doesn't have the time to follow it anyway, or feels so disenfranchised by the whole system, like, oh, fuck it, whoever I vote for, nothing changes anyway. That would be my guess on who like the average non-voter is. That's obviously like going to be way more representative of the average non-voter than the extreme person online who's like, I'm not voting for either side because fuck them both. I'm sure that that's like definitely a minority of non-voting people. Yeah.
No, I know, and I think so many of these problems are extremely online. By the way, like
100%, of course.
Like this whole Bernie or bus shit. Like this is almost like it's a Twitter/Switch problem. Yeah, like this. The rest of the demographic
they
doesn't
act
care
like
about
they're
this.
Representative of the entire Democratic Party. Like these people that are very online. Like Kyle Kalinske has no idea how fucking out of touch 99% of the shit he says is, but they feel like they represent the broad Democratic Party.
I gotta ask this: why do you hate Kyle Kalinske so much? You have such a vendetta against him.
that wheels his fucking dead dad out to try to defend his shit fucking political opinions. He's a garbage human being. He's stupid as fuck. He misleads his fucking audience, and he will be shameless as fuck when it comes to supporting whatever dumbass fucking argument he's making. The guy tweets stuff that is like mind-numbingly. What was the one? Oh god, what was the stupid econ tweet that he had a few weeks ago where he was like, if billionaires didn't, billionaires are hogging all the money. Oh my dude, like the guy says so much stupid fucking shit. It's like mind-numbingly. Like I can't.
Yeah, but I just mean, was there a jump-off point? Like, did you guys have a fallout? Did he talk to you? Like, it seems like
it says so much dumb
so
shit.
intense.
He is like the maximum symbol of like the stupid Bernie or bust crowd. Like he gives all the worst, dumbest fucking arguments, and he literally encourages people. He tells people that they shouldn't be voting for Biden, even in swing states. He's like, "Don't vote for Biden. I wouldn't vote for Biden if I was in a swing state." Like,
well, okay, but wait, does he say that, or does he say I wouldn't do it? Because there's two different things, and I agree with you that if you have a platform, they are very similar. Yeah, no question about that, right? But
so the actual quote,
is he saying like
a lot of people that I talk to always say like, "Oh no, they don't say that." Blah, blah. So I actually started recording a lot of these quotes because I like to have them. So he said in a video on in March 21st, he said in a video, and I quote, "I'm not giving you any caveats this time. I'm telling you the truth. In a swing state, I wouldn't vote for Biden." Like it's pretty clear what the message is there, right?
Right, but he's not telling you, like you, my audience, do not do this. He's saying I won't do this. And don't get me wrong, I would say that there's kind of like an implicit suggestion there, right? But he's
highly implicit, bordering on explicit. Like if I were to make any other problematic claim like that, like if I were to be like, I wouldn't hire any black people at my store, like everybody would be like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like, well, I'm not telling you they should. Yeah, right. It was highly problematic, highly implicit, or explicit almost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I find it. I think it's kind of funny. Yeah, is he the only one? Is that the one you hate the most? Is it Kyle Kalinske?
I mean, him. Like watching Michael Brooks has been like incredibly cringe. Watching Sean and Jen's horrible descent into Twitter madness.
What do you have against Michael Brooks? I thought he was your hero.
I liked him, but then the election stuff started rolling around. That dude is fucking crazy. He said so much mind-numbingly fucking stupid shit. I can't believe it. I didn't create like a receipt sheet for him, so I can't like go back and like look them up. I don't have anybody in chat, but like, oh my god, like he flew off the deep end. Like he became like a Bernie or Buster just as hard as anybody else. Like, oh my god.
I don't know. I think in terms of people, like I know you always accuse the left. Like, what did you say? Learning history from a leftist is like listening to Nick Fuentes talk about the Holocaust or something like that.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Which, by the way, yeah, that's funny. But like, Michael Brooks knows his shit, especially when it comes to geopolitics. He knows his shit more than I'd say most people in either political spectrum. Like he actually travels to South America and interviews people. You know,
that's why it's so surprising. Same thing with Sean and Jen. I've watched a lot of his videos. I'm like, this is really well researched. Like, this is super cool. People in my chat are telling me that apparently Brooks has fallen in line a lot more with Cedar now. Which, if that's true, thank the fucking Lord. But yeah, that's good if he has now. I think Hassan has as well, has like kind of fallen into like, okay, yeah, I guess vote for Biden. Now that we've gotten to watch Trump flounder more with this COVID-19 shit, maybe people are a little bit more reasonable. Like, yeah, okay, maybe we don't want 4 more years of Trump, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone does. I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think the Bernie crowd is going to do some mass protest for.
No, of course not, because most of them aren't horrible, evil, fucking crazy people.
No, and the polling doesn't bear that out either. I think something like 80% of Bernie supporters are already like saying they'll vote for Joe Biden, even the ones who don't like him. Right?
Sure. Yeah. Which is good. Yeah. And I mean, at this point, if the COVID-19 shit keeps going that way, like it won't even matter. Like Biden is gonna fucking sweep it anyway, because holy shit, Trump has fucked so much shit up. But I guess we'll see. Anything could fucking happen, right?
Hey, do you guys have mail-in voting?
No, I think we're still fighting over that. How do you feel about mail-in voting? That's a hard one.
I'm 100% for it. Why would I have anything against it?
So there's a philosophical and a pragmatic opposition to it. The philosophical one is the idea that you can do a vote and prove your vote is, I don't know if that's a real problem, but
it's
traditionally,
not.
What do you mean?
Voter fraud through mail-in voting? Because we
no, not voter fraud. I'm talking about buying votes.
Okay.
So, for instance, $27, man. You're taking so many shots at me. I can feel your whiteness through the screen. It's so good, dude. I bet you go outside and people think you're a vampire. That's how white I feel you are. I love it. No, I know. I was just letting that guy know that I appreciate it, and we resonate our whiteness. No, so the problem is that like. ideally, when you go to cast a vote at a ballot box,
Yeah.
let's say you come to me like, Destiny, I'll pay you $100 to vote for Canada. Like, okay, sure, take your money. You don't know I'm going to fucking vote. Fuck you. But when it comes to mail-in voting, well, now I can prove it. Like, here's my ballot. I'm taking a picture or a video, and then I put an envelope, seal it. Technically, you can buy votes if people are doing mail-in voting thing. Now, philosophically, that's an argument. I don't know realistically if that would ever happen. The other problem that could happen is that mail-in voting might ultra select for a specific segment of the population. So if I had to make some guesses with no data, my guess is going to be that it's generally whiter, older, and more socioeconomically privileged people that like know how to mail shit. That would be like my guess, that are like writing letters to family members or like mailing stuff more often. So by doing only mail-in voting, you might be selecting more for that percentage of the population, and you might lose out on a lot of other groups of people that could be voting as well. That would be like my only worry about that.
I think that's the whitest thing you've ever said.
Why do you say that?
I'm just joking.
I hate you.
I don't know if that's true. I would have to see some data on that, but I don't think there's any discrepancy between saying I'm going to pay you off to go buy something to go into a voting booth, and I'm going to pay you off to vote at home. Like, what's the difference? Like, you walk into a voting booth. No one knows when you walk into a voting booth what you're like doing.
Yeah, exactly. But you could prove like a mail-in ballot.
You could prove a mail-in ballot.
Yeah, like I could go to your house with like 100 people, and I could make sure that you all like fill out your ballot a certain way, watch you put it in an envelope, and then we could all go to the mailbox and drop it in a post box, and I could pay you all for your vote, and then like I do it. I don't know realistically if that would ever happen. I just know that that's one of the arguments for having an anonymous vote, is you're not supposed to be able to buy the vote or know the vote of another person.
Yeah, okay. I'll be honest. I don't think that bears out. Like I'd say, both of those arguments aside, it's a net gain for society to have more access to voting, especially if the voting has been demonstrable to not be corrupted, right? Like I think,
as long as you're not like overrepresenting for certain demographics. It would suck if like a lot of minority votes got lost because a lot of these people just don't really like post stuff that often, right? If a lot of people don't have access to mail because they're between places, or they live with like a family member or something, so they don't mail things, or they're just not used to, like, I don't even know how many Americans period know how to write letters, but my guess is going to be that if you're more socioeconomically privileged, it's probably easier to figure it out. Like, it's a Google search away and it's not a big deal and you can do it or whatever. Like, running it seems like, I know these always seem like stupid things, but like running to the post office to get a stamp, making sure all of that, like these are all like little things that like can be a form of like a poll tax a little bit, which
well, I was gonna say, I don't know what it is in America, but in Canada, when you get your mail-in voting, like everything's already taken care of. Like, you just get something in the mail, you have to just check something off, and then you put it anywhere. Like, the postage is already taken care of. Like, all the security measures are already taken care of.
Yeah, that would be cool. Hold on. So this is part of the reason why I don't I don't care about like the online comments anyway. So all of these people, like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm reading your chat. I'm talking about your chat. I'm not trying to.
You are getting so triggered by chat.
This like gingerbread white fetus guy is like, poor people don't know how mail works. You literally realize that conservatives say the same things when you guys talk about voter ID. Oh, you think black people are too stupid to get a driver's license? Oh, you think black people are too dumb to get an ID? Well, you're the real racist. Looks like you're the real racist. The reality is that any barrier that you put up between a person and voting is going to cause some amount of people not to vote. Now, the problem is certain barriers that you put up are going to affect some groups of people more than others. I don't think that black people are too stupid to get an ID, and I don't think black people are too lazy to drive 20 minutes to another polling booth. But the reality is that when you put these blockades up, it impacts some groups of people more than others, and then their vote becomes less represented.
Absolutely. This one works in the opposite direction. This one works in the opposite direction, though. Like,
if you did this responsibly, where like every single person that was registered in a city got like a ballot mailed to them that had like everything filled out, and you just had to like check something and drop it in the mailbox, that would be a cool way to do it, I think. Kind of like voter ID. Like, I could be okay with voter ID if like the federal or state government paid for everything, mailed you your ID, and you just had it for free. Like, I think I'd probably be okay with that. Yeah.
Oh man, I got so many people in my chat now talking about you.
I know, dude, when I argue with left-leaning people, I hear so many arguments that I hear from Nazis and shit, and it drives me fucking crazy. I'm like, oh my God, why are you using this argument? It came up, how do you feel about Karen?
Are you asking me genuinely?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Karen is not a slur. It's fucking, are you serious?
Oh, okay, yeah. So like, here's one. Okay, I think it's probably just not a good idea to make fun of people based on their gender or based on the way that they look.
You do that all the time.
Wait, what? Wait, when was the last time I like made? Oh, well, aside from the "you're white" thing that I'm doing now, which to be fair, is hypocritical. No, you know what? You're right. That is true. That is true. Okay, I am doing it there. But in general, like, if somebody were to ask me, like, "Are you seriously defending this as like a good?" I'd be like, "No, this is kind of a shitty thing to do." Like, I'll admit that. But I see people, dude, all of the old arguments that us gamer bros used to use for calling people the N-word or the F-word, people are wheeling out all those arguments now to defend Karen. Oh, Karen can actually mean anybody. It's not just like white middle-aged women. Oh, like the F-word, that doesn't refer to gay people. That's just somebody that pisses you off in a game. Or like, oh, Karen used to mean this thing maybe a long time ago, but that's not how we use Karen now. Like, oh, when I call somebody an N-word now, I just mean that they're lazy or a piece of shit. Not a black person. Like, all of the exact same arguments people use to justify slurs of the past are being used to justify the Karen thing. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like, shouldn't we be like at least a little bit consistent on this, I guess? But like, I don't know. I think that's very fucking funny to me.
Right, but you're not equivocating the N-word and Karen, right? Like, you understand that like, come on. Actually?
Well, no, of course not. But they don't have to be the same for the arguments to be the same. I'm not equivocating the N-word or the F-word either, right? But
no, of course not. But
I'm just arguments to defend or attack either position. I just think it's funny that we take the same arguments that we shit on when people are trying to defend homophobic or racist slurs. We'll shit all over those arguments, but then we'll wheel out those exact same arguments to defend like slurs against like say white people is like okay, or like bringing up slurs against like like oh Karen is really funny when like Karen is a hyper specific like it's all a little bit misogynistic. I get that vibe, but maybe it's because I'm around gamers all day that fucking hate women. But I get a little bit of a misogynistic vibe, and then it like targets like middle-aged white women that look a certain way, maybe a little bit overweight, have a certain type of haircut, and look a certain way, which I think is like kind of shitty. But
sure, yeah, and like I would agree with you if someone says, "Hey, don't call me something," you're just being a dick if you call them that. But in terms of like the power structure involved in the gravity of using the N-word versus the gravity of using Karen, like I mean, there's. I mean, I'm not going silent because I'm trying to make a point. I'm just like I don't want to preach the converted. I assume you're on the exact same page as me, right? Like you understand the systemic oppression and race.
Yeah, this is something that I actually like. I changed my mind on a little bit ago, or not, but I have like a different way of doing this. So like when we talk about like racism, right?
Sure.
Like if somebody asks me, can a black person be racist against a white person? It's a difficult question. On one end, on an immediately obvious end, well, of course, anybody can be racist against anybody. Now, if we look at it a level deeper, can black people, like as a class, really enact any type of like negative thing on white people as a class? Absolutely fucking not. White people are majority power holders in every single fucking possible way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But then another thing that I think a lot of left-leaning people kind of miss that's really important is that individuals don't interpret things as classes. So if I make fun of like a white person for some particular thing, they don't interpret that as like, oh, okay, well, you kind of said some bad things about me because of my race, but I'm part of a majority power class, and I don't actually interpret that as a negative way because I understand your class of people can't exert influence over me. Instead, what it just feels like is a shitty racist attack. And I think it's important to understand that even if we look at people as classes, it is important to recognize at the end of the day, well, how do individuals interpret certain attacks? Because they don't interpret things as classes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when it comes to the use of those words and like, is this an Impression Olympics kind of idea?
No, it's just that like, so in my general philosophy is that like, you probably shouldn't target people on qualities that we wouldn't consider intrinsically bad. So for instance, like it's probably not a good idea to call somebody a racial slur because we don't consider like being a race to be a bad thing. It's probably not a good idea to call somebody, like retarded because we wouldn't want like a mentally disabled person or whatever the word is today. We wouldn't want these people to feel like they're intrinsically horrible people. Or it's not a good idea to call somebody a homophobic slur for similar reasons, right? Now, if I call you like, like you're a piece of shit, like irresponsible white nationalist Nazi fuck, like I'm okay. If you're irresponsible, I'm okay with you feeling bad about that. If you're a Nazi, if you're a white national, I'm okay. Like, I think that like focusing insults on that level is more responsible than like trying to find like a classification of like, like, oh, well, you've got these particular traits. And these traits aren't necessarily bad. There's nothing wrong with being white. There's nothing wrong with being a woman. There's nothing wrong with being middle-aged. There's nothing wrong with having a certain haircut, right? Especially, and people make fun of like all aspects of this, but like even when it comes to hair, African-American communities have a lot of problems related to hair and racism and shit in the past. Like, it just feels like it's better to not attack these things at all. It makes it really hard in the future when you try to defend, certain positions, when people are like, well, why do you say why do you call for the Mayo side? Why do you call all white women Karens? Why do you why do you say like, hashtag white people or whatever, like white culture? Like, don't you think that hurts you? And it's like, well, yeah, it kind of does,
So what would your thoughts be if there was kind of like a small group of people, they were being oppressed by another larger group of people systemically, right? And I mean, sure, let's just say black and white people. And in that in the small group of the black community, they come up with these words to call the white people in a way that it gives them a sense of camaraderie and stuff like that. Well, at the same time, they are the ones actively collectively being oppressed by the larger systemic group. So
no, I don't think it. I don't think that you should find camaraderie in shitting on other people. I think that so the only exception I'll give for this is like safe spaces. I think there's a lot of value in safe spaces. I think that sometimes, especially if you belong to like a disadvantaged group, there are times where it's just like, I just need a fucking place where I can fucking vent about this shit that drives me crazy. I don't want people judging me. I don't want people calling me out for inconsistencies or whatever bullshit. I don't want the walrus there saying, well, what about blah, blah, blah. I just want to be able to say, like, fuck men, fuck women, fuck white people, whatever, in my little fucking. I think that there can be value in that. But when it comes to like larger, broader conversations, when you're trying to make arguments of inclusivity and arguments against homophobic or racist slurs, and then you've got like groups of people that are allowed to be like, yo, fuck white people, fuck white people. Fuck. And it's like, okay, well, fuck, that kind of hurts and damages like your optics,
But at the same time, you're not the ones who are systemically oppressed. Like it's kind of like there's one group that has all the power, and so I don't think there would be like an equivocation between the two. I agree with you, it's shitty, right? Like you're just being a shitty person, but you're not, in essence, like even by the textbop definition of the word, racism technically is what, prejudice plus power. Like,
well, no,
I don't want to.
New leftist definition. Right.
I don't know. It's not the new leftist definition.
That is the new. No, the dictionary definition is literally when you antagonize somebody based on their race. It doesn't have anything to do with power. That's a new definition that like progressives have added over time.
Over time, really? Well, I mean, I'm down to learn that. I didn't know that. But
I'm just saying if we go by dictionary, but I mean, like this isn't really relevant. We don't have to like.
Sure, I know. Like, I think it's super pedantic of people like, hey, you're not using racism properly. But then I do think there's value in basically using these words like, hey, this aspect, like if you're using this term and you're also using it and you're influencing power over a smaller group, then that would be different. There should be a way of defining that. Then the group who's not the group who has no power suddenly saying something, they're like, hey, white, white genocide, white, all that kind of stuff, doing it as like I don't think the two are the same, right? Like there's just a huge imbalance of powers.
From a class level, they're not the same, but individuals just don't see things as classes. That's like the thing that I think is like really important to understand. Like if you have a white person and they walk into fucking Twitter, I guess, or in some area with a group of people, and all of these people are like, you're white, you're shooting a blah, 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 you're so dumb, blah, 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 blah. Then it's like, oh, well, fuck, that's really confusing to like that person. Like I think it puts them in like a really weird area. Actually, I could cite a real life example from this in high school. I got in so much trouble for this because this confused the fuck out of me. So there were a group of girls so I was friends with a group of girls, and then there was like in high school, everybody works on like different like constellations of friends. There was like another constellation of friends to these people that was like tangent to them, and all three of these girls were like pretty overweight, and these girls would relentlessly make fun of me and another friend for being really skinny. I was very underweight in high school. When I graduated high school, I was 5'8", 105 pounds. So I was like very, very, very skinny. And they would like rail on us, being like, oh, like saying things like, oh, like when we go to the dance, like, oh, we're not going to dance with you skinny guys. Like you guys are so skinny, blah, 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 like, blah, blah, like constantly. And I remember like one day I got so annoyed. I was like, dude, I don't think my friend here would want to dance with your fat ass anyway. You were like 3 times as much as him. And I got in so much trouble for that. And in my mind, I couldn't understand. I was like, dude, like these guys have been shitting on us for being skinny, like for 2 years in high school. Like I make one comment, now I'm in trouble. Now going back, I can understand that like, oh, okay, well, it's a class of people. Fat people probably get shit on a lot more than skinny people. It's seen traditionally in media that if you're skinnier, you look better than fat people, et cetera, et cetera.
Your chat is loving this story, by the way.
Sure. Like as an individual, like I didn't understand that at all. I just felt like someone was attacking me for my weight, right? And I don't think you want individuals to feel that way. Even if they are part of like a majority class, you don't want to feel like you're being attacked for being majority power holder, especially when there are so many good things to attack groups of people over. Like if you want to attack people over like the distribution of wealth in society, where the majority of income is going, with how gentrification is like fucking some people out of homes, with how, like tax dollars are divvied up to certain things, with representation, there are so many good issues to like, this is fucked up and let's go on it. But to be like, fuck white people, like it doesn't hit well. It fucks your messaging up. It makes it hard to defend other arguments. Like, I just don't think it's a good thing to do.
I agree. I agree with you totally. I don't think it's a good thing to do, but at the same time, I don't think Karen is in any way like, I don't know.
I mean, Karen is literally a way to make fun of a middle-class white woman, right? Like you understand that, right?
It's like a wine mum, right? That's kind of the idea.
I mean, I've never
it's like a wine soccer mom. That's kind of it. It's like it was one of those words that started. It originally started, I think, in black communities to describe white soccer wine mums.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't have as much a history with wine mom, so I'm not sure.
Oh, well, neither do I. I'm not like...
Yeah, I just haven't heard the term so much. I just know that, like, white, like, especially, and again, like, maybe I'm talking because I overrepresent for, like, online communities, especially gamer communities, where people love shitting on women. Like, instead of calling someone a Karen, you could literally just call them entitled, and you hit everything without, like, the weird, like, quasi-racist, sexist / body-shaming overtones. Like, a Karen is, like, a somewhat overweight, middle-aged white woman with a certain type of haircut. Like, it just feels like kind of shitty to like wheel that out as an insult all the time. I just think it's good to do that, and then on the back foot be like, oh, hold on, don't use other misogynistic slurs or homophobic slurs or blah blah blah. Like, I don't know, it doesn't. You know.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's like it's bad. It's bad optics. It's bad messaging.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm sorry. I love it so much. So this guy in chat is like, white women aren't the only ones who get called Karen. And guess what? A lot of straight people got called the F word. Does that make it okay? Do you see what I mean when I say like people just wheel out like all these like super shit arguments? Like I've heard these. I've given these arguments to use the F word in the past. Like I've given all these same shit arguments. I thought we were past these. It's crazy.
Well, but you know how earlier you were saying though that it's weird that you're hearing these kind of like conservative talking points from other sides of the spectrum. I like as someone who's like really deep into watching shit tons of conservative media for you know, making our videos and everything, this talking point was huge and still is amongst the Tucker Carlsons, the Sean Hannitys, the Bill O'Reillys. The idea that like you can't call us white, you like don't talk about white genocide, don't call us white boy, and things like that, like white people experiencing racism. That was a really big conservative talking point for a long time.
Sure.
Yeah,
and I mean like I'll laugh at like people like Tucker Carlson, like talking about like white racism, because at the end of the day, like racism against white people is, you know, being called like a mayo cracker on Twitter, and racism towards black people is having your execution being filmed by your girlfriend, like in the passenger seat of your car for no fucking reason because you got pulled over for a ticket, right? Obviously, like the levels of racism experienced by both groups of people are massively disproportionate, but again, individuals don't interpret things as a class. Which is like really important. Oh, also, real quick, just while I'm here, I would like to give a shout out to the whitest person in chat right now, Central_Committee. The guy who was tweeting about people dodging debates when he wouldn't debate me because he needed $1,000 in subscriptions to do it, and now he wants to because he can barely pay his fucking rent. I just want you to know, man, I will contribute money for your fucking Android or iPhone when you're fucking streaming homeless, and I will love every fucking second of it, dude. Holy shit, I cannot fucking wait for those fucking days. Or when you're streaming and you want to scream about like your new political bullshit in the background, and your dad is like screaming in the background, Mike, be quiet down there, you gotta shut the fuck up, me and your mom are fucking right now, stop it, or whatever. And you're like, okay, sorry guys. So anyway, guys, the DNC is so rigged, right? Like, yeah, I look forward to those streams, bud. Anyway, also you're white. Okay, sorry, what were we saying?
I can't remember.
Oh yeah, I just think in general it's not a good precedent to be arguing in favor of like slurs like Karen. It just seems, I don't know, I feel like we can probably do better, but yeah.
Well, you're not actually arguing in favor of it, right?
No, I'm arguing that like we probably shouldn't say things like that. Like here, like look at this. Like look at this. You can't tell me this feels like a little bit weird. Like I don't want to pull the Tucker Carlson thing. But like if it was a black person, but I mean like this is like pretty clearly targeted towards like a specific type of person, right?
Yeah, sure. But again, they're not the same thing. Like I don't think it's like the people who are oppressing other people saying, I don't like you saying words that makes me feel like lesser than. While at the same time, we're actively running the show. Like all the powers in one direction is the way I see it, right? Like I totally agree with you. Don't say things that make people feel shitty. Like I'm on board with that. Like, you know, that's why I don't use the Mayo side jokes. But at the same time, I don't think they're an equivocation to words that are actually deeply entrenched within very racist roots, like the N-word, for example, or deeply homophobic ones like the F-slur.
Hey friend, thanks for watching. Before we bombard you with all of our shameless links, we want you to bombard us. Do you have a worker co-op business or local union you'd like us to advertise at the end of our episode for free? So, if you'd like ears on your worker co-op, go down to weareserfs.com. And while you're there, join the Discord because it's filled with righteous guys, gals, and MPals. Finally, come check us out on Twitch Live 5 days a week by going to twitch.tv/thesurftv. Yeah. To our lords, Ricky Pilgrim, I'm Raft, Tomospone, Nine Tails Cosmic Fox, Hans Josephine, and Corpse Harvester, we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our Knights of the Round Table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Byte, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Clement Chetskoff, Cooper Pilot, aka the man with large balls, Political Puppy, Nick Davis, Ali May, and Alan R., we salute you. And to our many merchants and farmers, you have our undying loyalty.